Yes, sir. Real quickly, 3 NBA games that I isolated for you because these are true positions, and that's 530 Orlando, 534 Miami, and Orlando +3, Miami +5.5, and 540 under 229.5 Philadelphia, Oklahoma City. Those are legit positions. They're not waiting because public, even though on the other side, these were soft numbers. We took advantage of that. College basketball for tonight. 707 under 131 Mount St. Mary's and American, and then 709 Xavier -1.5, -2, and some money line action. So they're not afraid to bet the favorites, just like yesterday with UNC. They're coming right back with Xavier tonight. 718 Florida Atlantic plus the 1. 719 over 128.5 Furman North Texas. 727 Loyola -2 and 2.5, and finally 711 over 157 UAB St. Joe's. A couple for Thursday's action. Okay, 773 over 145, 45.5, and 46 VCU versus BYU. And then 757 over 143.5, 44 all the way to 45 Utah State UCLA. And then what else do we have? This is Friday action. 780 Mississippi State -1. And also I gave it out as a free pick. Vanderbilt against St. Mary's. Vandy at +4.5 and 4 against St. Mary's. That's a Friday game. So you have some Thursday, you have some Friday, you got NIT for tonight, and also tournament, March Madness tournament for tonight. I took a percentage of all these, so I do want them to win, but I only released so far 4% best bet on tonight's NIT. Isolated a nice best bet, a really nice total that I learned.
I personally like Texas Tech. They're not crazy long shot, but they're a 3 seed. I like them to make the Final Four. I think BYU's interesting as a 6 seed. And then obviously a lot of people are going to be on the Gonzaga train. You know, they're obviously criminally underseeded as an 8 seed. They have the 3rd shortest odds to win their region as an 8 seed. I mean, they're ahead of the 4 seed, the 5 seed, the 6 seed, tied with Kentucky, who's the 3 seed in that region. So really interesting to look at those odds. I know a lot of people are feeling the love for Gonzaga. Obviously, be a very tough matchup in the second round against Houston, but that would be a classic.
I also forgot to ask his bracket buster, which because he sent it all to me. It's Troy over Kentucky. What might yours be?
Mine would be Akron over Arizona.
And the top teams to avoid, Brian Power liked St. John's and Michigan State.
I'm definitely on the St. John's train because that's them losing in the Sweet 16 to Texas Tech. So I don't hate that. I mean, listen, if you're in a bracket, I think avoiding picking either Duke or Florida win the national championship. I mean, if those teams don't win the national championship, you'll probably win your bracket if you do okay, because it feels like everybody's picking those 2 teams to win.
Of course, while we are waiting for Thursday, there are these first 4 games, and Xavier and Texas is an interesting matchup, Prez, for all the hand-wringing that took place over North Carolina being included in the field of 68. These 2 teams are both 10 spots lower than the Tar Heels in the Ken Palm rankings. Texas is a team, interestingly enough, I cashed not once but twice as a 5% play during the regular season. Each of those instances, though, were more about me feeling the Longhorns had a situational advantage. I don't think that's the case here against the Xavier team that had won 7 straight going into the Big East tournament. We all remember how the Musketeers' last game versus Marquette in the Big East tournament ended. They hit that half-court heave to cover the spread, but unfortunately for them, they still lost by 2 as 2.5-point dogs. But remember, they were up by 14 in that game. So we're talking about a team that's won 7 of 8, and in the lone loss was up double digits. You contrast that with Texas, guys. This is a team that was just 6-12 straight up in SEC play during the regular season. Yes, the SEC was certainly the best conference in America all year. Yes, Texas had a couple nice wins in the conference tournament. But let's not forget, less than a month ago, they lost to South Carolina. That's not good. You throw in the fact it should be a partisan crowd tonight for Xavier. This game's being played in Dayton, just 50 miles from their campus. I would play the Musketeers. I know we've missed the best of the number. If you're more juice tolerant, maybe throw it in a money line parlay with something like Purdue tomorrow morning. But I think Xavier moves on, Press. Yeah, NIT. And the good news, Prez, you don't have to be that juice tolerant to get down here. I like FAU in this spot. Another team I tapped with not that long ago. As a matter of fact, their regular season finale here at home, the Owls were 4.5-point favorites. That's where I took them. They easily won 81-53 over East Carolina. Got off to a good start in the AAC tournament as well, beating Charlotte. But then this was interesting. FAU, despite a rest disadvantage, was a favorite in the quarterfinals against Tulane. Tulane was off a bye. FAU had played the day before. FAU loses that one outright. Tonight, though, back at home, they've had a few days off. I think they're undervalued, basically a pick'em price against a Dayton team that I think it's fair to say was largely a disappointment all season long. Dayton's had to go to overtime 2 of its last 4 games. They fell behind by double digits in the A10 tourney, a game they ended up losing to St. Joe's. Similar to that game versus East Carolina that I spoke of earlier, Prez, I just think this is a good spot to buy low on FAU at home. Just play them on the money line. I think minus 115. Owls should get home and advance in the NIT. Remember, this is a home game. Of course, all the first couple rounds are home games in that tournament.
Creighton is playing Louisville. It all begins. How do we attack this game?
Yeah, so I don't have a very good feel on the side here at all, but I do think the over is worth the shot. We've already seen the total move from 144.5 to 145.5 at one of the sharper books, which is interesting because Louisville is a team that comes into the NCAA tournament 22-12 to the under for the season. But the thing is, Prez, there have only been 2 Louisville games all season where the total closed below 145. And both of those were against Virginia, who, as we all know, plays at one of the slowest paces in the entire country. Both of these teams attempt a lot of threes relative to their total number of shot attempts over the course of the game. And then you have to consider this. Creighton, number 2 in the country, guys, in 2-point percentage. Louisville's 19th from inside the arc. So there should be a decent amount of scoring here. I like the over, 145.5. I'll keep that short and sweet.
I'm circling in on Shane Lowry this week, which is not much of a surprise. He's normally pretty good during this Florida swing. He's drifted as far north as 35-1. So I love that price on him. Few people love this Florida swing like he does. He's finished inside the top 20 in all 3 events so far. And while this tournament represents the least exposure for him as far as past history goes in the Florida swing, he does have 2 starts here, including a tie for 12th in 2022. Going back further in his current form to the playoffs last year, so that's last August, followed by the fall. In the fall, he plays kind of the DP World Tour. So in his last 14 starts, Lowry has 12 top 20 finishes. His irons are elite. He ranks number 5 in strokes gained approach in this field over the last 12 months and number 3 over the last 6 months. And while it's obviously early in the season, Prez, he ranks 7th this year, strokes gained approach, 8th in total strokes gained, and 4th in proximity, which is your distance away from the hole after your approach shot. With this being a second shot golf course, Andy and I broke this down pretty well on the golf show this week, so you can view that. But this is all about the iron play, and Lowry kind of fits that mold. So 35-1 in the outright. If you want to back him up, you can get plus 360 for a top 10 or plus 180 for a top 20. I think those 2 will definitely come to fruition. You didn't need a lot to go right to get the outright winner actually right, but I think he's going to be in the mix on Sunday, and that's all you ever ask for. Yeah, matchups have been doing great 4-0 run the last couple of weeks, and Jake Knapp is a name that I like this week over Taylor Moore. So full transparency, Taylor Moore's odds are boosted because his lone PGA Tour win came at this event 2 years ago. So I think that's, it puts his price tag, not where it probably should be based on just pure form. He is playing okay so far this season. He did have 2 top 10s earlier on in January and February, but his most recent starts, including the Florida swing, nothing better than a tie for 33rd, over his last 3 starts. Opposite of him, so he's kind of been a guy that started a little hotter and then it's been trending down. Opposite of that, Jake Knapp has been getting better every single week. He had a quiet start in his first 4 events of the season, but since he's finished inside the top 25 in 4 straight starts, including both Florida swing courses that he played. And you would argue that his skill set, he's a bomber, right? He's not necessarily the best as far as approach goes, which is the Florida swing is all about approach. So he had a top 25 finish at the Players last week with that skill set, and at the Cognizant Classic a couple weeks ago with that skill set. So it's hard to think that it's not going to continue here, even though it is supposed to be a second shot golf course. I have these guys ranked pretty evenly, Prez, so minus 110. The fact that we can get plus 110 on Jake Knapp, I think presents pretty good value. but I love the way
Right.
he's playing his form right now. I just think Moore's odds are a little inflated because of his one win here. But yeah, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson is a name nobody watching this show right now probably has heard of. So I'll educate you a little bit. Though I'm going to say this, he's just got onto the PGA Tour. His first start was just a few weeks ago at the Puerto Rico Open. He finished runner-up. He dang near won the event. You go back further, though it wasn't against PGA Tour competition, he did have 3 wins in 2024 on the Challenge Tour, which is the second-tier tour in Europe. So basically like the equivalent of the Korn Ferry Tour if you follow enough golf here in the States. But 3 wins is evidence of a very high ceiling for this young guy. If you go back to his starts this fall when he made his way onto the DP World Tour, which is formerly the European Tour, he's finished inside the top 20 in 7 of 12 starts, including 4 top 10s. And then again, runner-up in his lone PGA Tour start just a couple of weeks ago. That finish earned him this start this week and is going to continue to earn him starts where, it'll take a little bit of longevity to get his PGA Tour card, but he's on his way. But at odds of 100-1 to win, will he win? Probably not in this field. But top 10 plus 750 and top 20 as at plus 330, and that's including ties. So those numbers are important when you're betting a guy that's kind of lower on the odds board. If he finishes tied for 19th with 5 other guys, you want to get paid in full on those. So make sure to do the including ties on this. But I do think he can play well this week and probably give us a good chance, most realistically, at that top 20 bet. But Rasmus Niergaard Peterson.
All right, let's do Tobias Harris over 5.5 rebounds. I don't know where this rebounding surge has come from, but over in 7 straight games, 11.8 rebound chances per game in those 7, and he gets a great matchup. The last 10 games, Miami's giving up 44.4 rebounds per game. That is 17th worst in the NBA. This is not a Miami team that seems motivated to play well right now, so we're going to take Tobias Harris over his rebounds. I wish Gunnar Nelson would fight more often. He's fought like twice in 5 years, but this is a Kevin Holland that I just can't take serious. I don't think he takes himself serious. He's more concerned with being funny and collecting fight checks than he is about winning and improving. He's lost 4 out of 5. This is his 9th fight in 2 years. Like, he fights a ton, and he just got submitted in January. And in October, he had to quit in a fight because of a rib injury. And he got submitted by a guy he really shouldn't have been submitted by in January. And instead of saying, well, let's get back in the training room in the gym and let's get better, instead he just takes another fight 2 months later. This is just not a guy that I want to bet on. Gunnar Nelson is a grappler and a wrestler. He's going to try and get this to the ground. Kevin Holland has been bad on the ground in recent fights, so I think this is a bad matchup. I'll take Gunnar Nelson to get the win. Plus 200 by submission is a sprinkle that might be worth your time as Prez. We're up 73 units in the since last July. This has become a cash cow. So we're going to do a parlay with Fonseca over Tien and Sun over Sheriff. Fonseca was one of these new bright stars. He's got top 10 potential, been a cash cow for bettors all season. This is pretty fast conditions. He's got a really good head-to-head record versus Tien. He's won the last 3, and Tien's actually got a weak serve. I think the pressure is going to be too much. And then Sheriff is just the ultimate fade. Lost 16 straight matches on hard courts, never beaten a top 50 player on hard courts in 21 matches. She's the ultimate fade right now. Parlay those, and you should have a nice little parlay that'll cash for you